Welcome to SIA the podcast, where our mission is to offer thoughtful and inspiring parenting and educational programming. We are committed to producing impactful podcasts that add value to conversations around education, student advocacy, and parental challenges. My name is Heather Moore, and I'm the head of school at Strelitz International Academy, and I will be your host. I have over 28 years of experience in independent schools, with 8 years as head of school and 20 years serving as a chief financial officer. I've also raised 2 children, one finishing medical school and one starting law school, and have been married to my wonderful husband for 31 years.
As we wrap up the first half of the school year and head into 2025, today's episode is all about reflection and anticipation. We'll take a look back at milestones, successes, and key moments that have shaped the year so far and share what's on the horizon as we continue to grow and evolve. Whether you're a parent, an educator, or a student, this is a chance to celebrate the journey, learn from our experiences, and set our sights on what's next. Let's dive in. I'd like to welcome Alyssa Brin and Veronica Samante from our early years department to reflect on the first half of the year for our early years students. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
We're so glad to have you with us. So let's start talking about reflecting on the school year so far. What initiatives or programs are you two most proud of in early years this year?
I love that you use the word reflecting because I want to reflect on reflection. Reflection is a huge part of the IB program and the IB philosophy. And this year, we kind of reworked our lesson planning. And what we did is we gave our teachers the opportunity to reflect. And so they're turning in what we call learning journeys at the end of the week. So they can reflect on what has happened during the week, and they're using that to plan for the next week coming up. And it's really shown, there's been a huge difference in the teaching that we're seeing and the learning that's happening in the classroom since we implemented this new form of lesson planning.
I love that. That is so interesting, and it makes so much sense. To plan after you complete the week before helps you to figure out what you should do the next week. I love that. I really do.
It's extremely helpful for Veronica and I as well as we walk into the classroom and we see what's happening. And after we've read these learning journeys, not only do we see what's happening in the classroom, but we now understand where it came from and where it started.
I have to say, I also really love that you call it learning journeys rather than lesson plans. I love that. That's great. Okay, so what feedback are you hearing from your teachers or maybe some of your little learners and maybe some of their parents?
So in the beginning of the school year, at one of our first faculty meetings, we were training our staff about play schemas. And as Alyssa was explaining the different ones, you would see a light bulb go off in the teachers, realizing that they were already seeing these play schemas happening.
Oh, wow.
With the children, just not realizing the meaning behind what they were doing.
Right.
So that was really cool to see. All of us were learning a lot that day about the different ways that children play and the meaning behind why they're doing what they're doing.
Can one of you share with our audience just a few of the play schemas? Because a lot of people may not know what you're talking about. Just some examples.
So my favorite play schema is the connecting schema. And the reason my favorite is the connecting schema is because it's actually so socially, emotionally tied. So a play schema is really literally just how children are working through what's going on in their brain. Adults even have schematic play at times as well, which is a great way for our teachers to connect with that. And the connecting schema is when you see children building blocks and then knocking them down, connecting things. During Sukkot, the paper chains was a really big and interesting schema that we saw them working through, how to connect those. And the idea of seeing that and seeing children building blocks or connecting magnets in different ways, you don't think about how that's actually teaching children about relationships and how things in the world are interconnected until you learn about schematic play. And once you start to learn about schematic play, it all starts to make sense that, yes, of course they have to knock down the tower in order to build it back up because they're learning about relationships and how relationships are broken down and then built back up.
I love that. And I'm so happy that our faculty has received this training, and this helps them every day in the classroom, but most importantly, it helps our students grow and develop every day in the classroom. So I love that. Have you heard anything from parents about the play schemas this year?
So we do have a teacher who will focus on one play schema and show pictures of what the students are doing in the classroom. And parents are realizing when they do those things at home, again, there's a reason to why their children are playing the way they're playing.
I love it. Okay, great. So bringing the classroom home so parents understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. That's perfect. I love it. How about progress? Have you guys seen any progress in larger school goals like student wellness, academic innovation, etc., things to that nature?
So another training that we did at the beginning of the year in our August training was a training about self-regulation and safe spaces and creating spaces in the classroom where the children feel free to kind of express their, as we call them in the early years, big feelings. And something we are definitely seeing as we do our walkthroughs in the hall is we're seeing especially the 3s and the 4s who are emotionally a little bit more intelligent and understanding their feelings more. We're seeing a lot more of them really understanding how to regulate their own feelings, and teachers using the right verbiage and teachers using the right strategies to help them get to that point.
That's great. I love it. Okay, looking forward. 2025 is really close. What priorities do you want to focus on in 2025 in early years?
Well, we're excited that we are going to a conference in April, the VAEYC. And Alyssa and I are bringing along a couple of teachers with us.
That's great.
We did send out a questionnaire, a survey to all the teachers to see who really is interested in going. And we are going to collect all those responses and then decide who will come along with us.
That's exciting. So you had like an application process. I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
We did. We really want to, one of our main goals for the year was to build a really strong learning community of our faculty. And that includes everyone, the teachers, the instructional assistants, and everyone that is part of our program. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that they love this professional learning. And so that is a major goal of ours to continue for the rest of the year, is to continue creating this learning community. And the VAEYC conference that Veronica mentioned is going to be a really big part of it, because they have an opportunity to learn with people that are part of a broader community.
Right. And all focused on early years learners, which I think is really, really important. But also as an IB school, I think trying to create this learning community that you're talking about is really essential, because we're all lifelong learners in the IB world. All right, ladies. Well, it sounds like you've had a great start to the school year, and I thank you for sharing all of this with our listeners.
And now joining us on our Reflections podcast are 2 of our 4-year-old teachers, Jackie Lamb and Nicole Bernal. Welcome, ladies. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
All right, so looking back at the first half of this school year, I love this question. I've already asked like multiple people this question, but what has been the most rewarding moment for you and your students? One at a time, whoever wants to go first. Go
There's a
ahead.
few things that have come to mind this year that I've reflected on. One is our journeys into where we are in place and time. And then another one was sending prayers to the hotel with one of our students' father, Rabbi Ari. That has been meaningful. It was a very meaningful experience for the children. So those are like 2 things that have stand out the most so far.
Okay, and where we are in place and time, what stood out about that for you?
So I feel like it was like making connections with journeys and how they took them from home into the classroom and
Where we are in place in time and journeys. So after every unit that we do an action project.
Okay.
And this year for Where we are in place in time, we did a huge map on a bulletin board in the middle of the hallway. And we put push pins out, and we asked all of the parents, students, any family members who walked down the hallway to put a push pin, a place that they journeyed to, which is really awesome because I know we have a lot of military families here.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of cool that the teachers also
Yes.
added to it, even if they weren't in the same age group that we were
It was a
doing the
good
journey.
collaborative.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration across the whole.
And we tried to put it up before Grandparents' Day also, which was really nice because then when the grandparents, they got to see it and they got to interact also with our action project.
I love that. That's so engaging and so hands-on for the students. So that's
That's fabulous. And actually, I know there's one more little component of it that's going to happen in our little parade tomorrow, but I'm not going to share that because that's a surprise. So, moving to the next question. What are some specific growth areas or skills that you've seen develop in your students so far this year? You guys have 4-year-olds, you're getting them ready for kindergarten. So what have you seen?
So one of the things I've seen in our classroom is giving the students more agency.
Okay.
I know in the early years we don't do the let go and grow, though we try to incorporate it into our classroom.
Which I love.
So yes, so some ways that I've seen our students like just excel and build the confidence and self-esteem is just giving them more things to do, like going to the printer to get a picture that we might have wanted to print off, or going to go get a snack. You can just see that the confidence in them.
Yeah, and they feel proud of themselves too, you know?
I know
they're like, oh, Maura Jackie thinks I can do this.
Yes.
You know?
I know a lot of people say, I'm proud of you, but I also like to instill in my kids that they should be proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that helps build the confidence too.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I actually really like that you are noticing what's happening in primary years with the Let Grow program, and you're thinking, okay, how can we do a little baby step of this with our 4-year-olds? Because they're growing and developing, and
they all
ready.
want to do it. Like
I know.
When they see one child leave the classroom, they're like, oh, can we be the next one to go to the printer? And I just think it builds a really good foundation, like going into kindergarten and giving them more agency and more things that they're going to have to do throughout the day.
A lot of independence.
Independence.
It's a big transition from forced to going to kindergarten. Their cubbies are out in the hallway. They get to do a lot of things on their own without their teachers. So it's a good transition in between the two grades.
Yeah, I love it. How about some new strategies or programs that you guys may have implemented in the classroom? And how do you think they've impacted learning for your students?
Well, I want to start. So when I first started at Strelitz, I was an assistant to Jackie. I'm going to start crying, so I cut that out because we cried yesterday about it. But but I see Jackie like a mentor. So a lot of things that I implement in my classroom is because of Jackie. So then one of the things we both do is we do a daily newsletter, which is...
This just shows how much passion you guys have. I just want you to say. I mean, seriously.
And I'm a crier, so it's okay.
Hey, I'm going to.
We both do daily newsletters,
Yes.
and we find it's a great way for parents to be engaged and take what we talk about and learn in the classroom every day and take it home.
Okay.
It kind of brings the bridge from home to school.
Yes, because I know a lot of kids would be like, I didn't do anything today. But thankfully, we're able to do a daily newsletter and share those things with our parents and families, and they can...
And we've got a lot of feedback on that. Like I've had several parents come up to us, like since the beginning of the school year, saying, "Thank you so much for this feedback." Like now we have something to communicate at home, and maybe if they're doing something on a weekend, they can bridge some of that connection of learning. And I just think it's a great way to just build relationships with our families, our students.
Yeah.
It's great to have that foundation that you're connected with your families.
I think that's really helpful too, like you said, because many times parents ask that question of, what did you do today? That open-ended question. And kids always say either nothing or I don't know. Or so by sending something home every day, they can take a quick look at that and ask a more direct question.
Yes, like just recently, like I've had like 2 parents send in pictures of them writing their names because they're like, look, they're writing their names, like amazing. Like I'm like, that's great. So it's just nice to get those emails over the weekend, like and the pictures that we're getting. It just makes it all just more
very
rewarding.
Very thankful that we're able to send those out in between all the things that happen in the classroom.
I know, it's a lot going on, but we really...
Our assistants are amazing too, so
yes,
they
are.
help us out a lot.
Yes.
All right, so as we look ahead to the rest of the year and in the beginning of 2025, what goals or hopes do you guys have for your classroom, for your students?
I think for me, it's just continuing what we've started.
Okay.
Continuing the bridge with our families, our students, giving them the agency, because I just feel like when they have more agency, they just have more appreciation of their work. Like you can just see how much they appreciate what they're doing when they have more agency. So I just, for me, just moving forward is continuing doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And continue building the relationships we have with
Yes.
the kids and the parents. Parents are amazing.
Yes.
So thankful for them. And
yes, I will say I've had so much, reflecting like so much communication with parents this year.
yes.
Like it's a group that just wants to keep
They're
communicating with us, and it's wonderful to see.
Well, I can tell you both that whenever I am able to go into your classrooms, it's a very warm and welcoming environment in both of your classrooms, and I love that. And I love all the bulletin boards outside both of your rooms because it really it's really bringing the learning to life. Like it displays.
Yes.
I can see what the kids are doing. I can see where they started and where they took it.
Right.
And that's hard to do. That's really not an easy skill, and you guys
Right.
have mastered that. Bringing that learning to life for parents, for guests, for anybody who's in the school, and also for your students, because they can
Right.
go out and see the great things they've already done.
And they do. They love going out and seeing what they're putting in the hallway. It's just really cool to see. And I think it's good that we can collaborate between the 4-year-old
Yeah.
classrooms, all 3 of them. Like, we're going to start something soon to try to connect all 3 classrooms together. So it's kind of cool to see that collaboration even in the hallway with our boards connecting in some
Yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
going forward, I'm kind of excited about that.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for all that you do for SIA, and I can't wait to see what we have outside the 4-year-old rooms in 2025. Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Heather.
Joining us now is Allie St. Pierre, our Director of Admissions and Marketing. Welcome, Allie. We're so happy to have you here with us to reflect on the first half of the year from the admissions department.
Thank you, Heather. I'm happy to be here.
So, how has the first half of the year influenced interest or engagement from prospective families?
So something really big this first half of the year was our second annual Fall Festival, which was a great success.
Love Fall Festival.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So many things to do. We had a lot of our current families attend, a lot of our alumni, but we also had students and families that were interested in our program who came, and just the community, the teachers, the faculty, the staff that came together to really welcome them and make them feel like part of the community already was it's just really cool to see, and that's just a little glimpse of what SIA is.
Yeah, that event is such a community engaging event.
Wow.
I mean, I think we had over 700 people at Fall Festival this year. So it appeals to the greater community
There's
in
something
addition
for
to
everyone.
in addition to our families, which I just love. So what trends are you seeing in enrollment, and what feedback are you getting during tours and other outreach opportunities?
When I have prospective families come in, the first thing they tell me is how colorful our school is.
I
And
love
just,
that.
Yeah, how welcoming and inviting it feels as soon as they walk in through the doors. It's not like they're walking into a dark place where, they have to send their children to. It's a place where they want to send their children. They feel safe. They love seeing the security measures we have in place. They love seeing, our hallways with the bulletin boards that are always up to date. We have pictures everywhere that our parents can look at and feel the vibe of the school as soon as they walk through the door. They also love going outside and seeing that we have 2 playgrounds and a big white top area, a gardening area that our students can really just have fun and have a break when they need a break. When I mentioned the 2 recesses for our primary year students, our families always get so excited about that because our students are moving around. They're not just sitting in class all day, because that's impossible. It's impossible for students to sit all day.
Adults can't do it,
No,
so I don't know why we expect kids to do it.
Exactly, it's hard.
That just reminded me too, when Lenore came to visit our school this year, that was one of the things she said when I was walking down the halls with her. She said, "Your school has such a warm vibe."
Right.
And I was like, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I love that we have such a warm vibe.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so how about what moments from this year would you share as highlights to showcase the school's values and strengths to new families, other than Fall Festival, of course?
Of course. So this year we actually added a new family chair to our PVO. And what that new family chair did was reached out to families that were new to the school community, whether it was early years or primary years, and they really made them feel welcome.
That's great.
Yeah, so if there was an event happening, our new family chair reached out and said, "Hey, why don't you come to our pasta night?" And they sat with them and introduced them to new people. Because we did get a lot of feedback that some new families felt like they didn't know a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's always hard to enter a new community.
Yes, it is hard. It's hard. So one of the steps that we took to honor that feedback was to create that new family chair.
I love that.
Yeah.
And she's done such an excellent job.
Patty was
Hopefully she
amazing.
stays in that role for years to come.
Yeah, it's really nice. And she would message me and be like, "Oh, I met with this family. They're super nice, and they came over for Shabbat dinner." And just having someone like that, where the new families can reach out and be like, hey, I don't know what an early year Shabbat is. Can you fill me in? It's just really comforting.
And that's a really good point, because we're so used to our lingo,
Right.
or our acronyms or whatever you want to say. We forget that new people don't know what you're talking about. They just kind of look at you like, oh,
Right.
uh-huh.
We're going to go to the EY Shabbat and
Yeah.
the NPR after the PY.
Yes, there's a lot of acronyms.
Yes.
So that's a good point, and I'm glad Patty was able to kind of shed some light on that for
Absolutely.
people. How have current students and parents helped share the story of the school? I mean, I would say in the admissions process, but also just as ambassadors, right?
Absolutely. Part of my job, is doing the social media. So going on Facebook and seeing memories pop up of, our current primary year students, some fifth graders, as, the memories of them as early year students and them kind of doing things that are traditions. I mean, that's the story of our school, and a lot of things that they do, they keep in mind our values at SIA, so the love of learning, repairing the world. They take ownership and decide what they want the traditions to be at our school, whether it's the SIA Mitzvah Club, doing a coat drive, or starting new traditions like hot cocoa and pajamas and raising money that way. The story is written by our students, and
I love that.
it's really, it's nice, when we have new traditions, but then when we also have old traditions or older traditions. For example, the tiles in the art studio upstairs, right?
Yeah.
We recently had our alumni come back at the end of the school year of 23-24, and they went upstairs and saw their tiles, and they were just so excited.
And they wanted to go find their tiles. I do
and brought
remember
them
that.
back, and that's
for-
really important.
It is. So for anybody who doesn't know what she means by that, so we take ceiling tiles down for the fifth graders towards the end of their fifth grade year, and they paint the ceiling tile, usually with some direction from the art teacher, but and so that's kind of like leaving their legacy in the school.
Absolutely.
And it was really exciting to see that these seniors graduating from high school were all very excited to go back and find their ceiling tiles. I loved that. I didn't expect them to be, like that was one of the first things they were, Mrs. Moore, can we go upstairs? I want to go find my tile. It's like, oh, okay, that's so exciting. I'm glad that they were, touched by that in that way. You know what I was just thinking about too, from this year compared to last year, because it came up in my memories, was Friendsgiving last year, which was early years Friendsgiving, where we had all the tables lining the hallway for the early year students to enjoy a meal together before Thanksgiving. And then this year, we changed that a little bit, and then we made it an all-school Friendsgiving. And so it was primary years and early years, and we had all of our buddy classes together. So the PY kids were sitting with their EY partners. And that was amazing to see.
It is amazing. It really is. It's really nice seeing the older students become mentors.
Yes.
Yeah, and taking these younger students under their wings, and then, the early year students feeling so cool they're sitting with the older kids.
Oh, yeah. The little ones think they are the coolest.
Yes.
But also, I love to hear the little conversations that were going on. I tried to, kind of peek in on what was being said between the buddies. And some of it was, helping them figure out what they were going to eat, or what do they like, what do they not like, where are they going for Thanksgiving, what are they doing for Thanksgiving. It was great conversation.
Yeah, and what's really cool too is that the primary year students went and visited the early years when they were doing the preparations for Friendsgiving. So they were doing different activities that had to do with whatever they cooked, whatever meal, part of the meal that they cooked. And they would look in the classroom, in their former classrooms, the older students, and they would see their old work that they did, and they would get really excited. Like, oh, that's when we learned, this unit. And it was a good walk down memory lane.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then also adding to that, there was an action component to that, to the whole Friendsgiving Day, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to share what that was?
Absolutely. So each class, based on what they were making and preparing for Friendsgiving, they collected the items to donate to Jewish Family Service, so they could prepare bags of food for families that might need them for Thanksgiving.
Right, like creating a full Thanksgiving meal for families. It was just amazing. I don't remember how many we created,
Over
though.
15.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience, and I like that it had that,
Value.
extension to it, which really does add to our values.
Yeah.
repairing the world. So, all right, so as we enter 2025, what are your goals for growing and strengthening the school community as we move forward?
I would really love for prospective families to come in and check out our IB program. We are the only IB elementary school in Virginia Beach, and it's a very beneficial program. Not only are our students learning how to learn, but they're learning to love learning. And another thing that we offer is learning Hebrew, a second language, at such a young age, whereas a lot of our schools in Virginia Beach don't even start teaching a second language until middle school, and by that time a lot of people will say it's too late, and we do see the benefits in our students. We also have the Suzuki method here for violin. Our students start playing violin in kindergarten.
In kindergarten?
Yeah. And
they're so cute with their foam violins.
So cute. And they're exposed to learning an instrument at such a young age versus, just choosing what they want to play in middle school. Again, when it's late, their brains are so malleable,
yeah.
right, in this age group. So we really got to take advantage of that.
Right, and there's so much research out there about what it does to the brain when you start a second language at a much younger age, and when you start music at a young age. And really, that's like a language as well. I mean, you're learning to read music, you're learning to read notes, so it's like a third language, really. If you but there is a lot of research out there about how that helps develop brain activity. Yeah. So I think we do an amazing job between the IB, the Hebrew language, Judaic studies, and then of course bringing in all of the music. So I agree. I would love to see people come out and see the only IB PYP school in Virginia Beach.
Like, what is IB? Come and check us out. You'll learn.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about for when we enter 2025, I want people to come to SIA, and I want them to see that we are not just a school. We are not a daycare. We are a community. We care about each other. We care about the greater community. And, if you walk into this school, you're going to leave as family. And our teachers are going to know who you are. Our faculty is going to know who you are. And you'll have a home at SIA. So I really hope people will take advantage of that and come check us out.
Thank you, Allie. That was absolutely fabulous. And I thank you for all of your hard work you do for SIA.
My pleasure.
Joining us now is Rashi Brashavitsky, our Director of Judaic Studies, to share her reflections on the first half of the year in primary years. Welcome, Rashi. I'm really happy to have you with us today.
Thanks, Heather. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, as you reflect on the school year so far, what initiatives or programs do you feel most proud of?
So this year for Judaic Studies and Judaic Celebrations, we've taken a social emotional learning perspective, and we're infusing social emotional lessons such as being kind and respectful, or aspects of teamwork, forgiveness, concepts that children really need as they grow older. We're sort of blending them with the Judaic holiday celebrations, and that's really been wonderful to watch.
I love that. Can you give me a couple of examples of things we've done this year?
Sure. For Sukkot, we've done like a thing on teamwork.
Okay.
Where the kids worked in teams to build edible sukkahs for a contest.
That was fun.
It was a lot of fun. And watching these students work in small groups was fascinating. They really had to, regulate themselves and monitor how they were working in a group.
Yeah.
For our Hanukkah celebration, we'll be speaking about helping people around us, just as the menorah has a helper candle, the shamash, that lights the other candles.
Nice.
Our sukkah decorations this year, the chain was made with examples of kindness that students, have done with other people. We've made cards for seniors as a way of being caring. We did some joyful dancing for Simchat Torah. We spoke about the concept of being joyful. So we're really hitting all sorts of different social and emotional learning topics.
I forgot all about the edible sukkah and the groups, and you asked me to be a judge, and I have to tell you, that was really hard. It was not easy to try to pick which sukkah met all the requirements.
They did well.
But it was still fun. I loved it. And the kids handled it well and celebrated the ones that won. So that was also nice to see.
It was excellent.
Yes. Okay, so what feedback are you hearing from teachers or students or parents about this year's experiences? What have you heard?
People are happy. The teachers, parents, students. I think people are enjoying celebrating, but with a different twist this year, and finding ways to really take a meaningful lesson from our celebrations and our activities that they can use and integrate into their own personal lives.
Okay, that's nice. I like that. How about what progress have you seen in larger school goals, such as wellness or academic innovation or anything to that effect?
So I think wellness is something we can really speak to this year.
Yeah.
With the Let Grow program in our classrooms, I think that's helping the students build like emotional wellness and confidence as they learn to try, they try new things and are gaining independence. We've also implemented a respect program that we just wrapped up, and the students were earning coupons for demonstrating respect throughout the day.
Okay.
And that's something that will continue through the year. In January, we will move to a focus of kindness. So every certain amount of weeks, there'll be a new theme. So additionally, I think also like with recess twice a day, I think we have a different sort of emotional and physical wellness that the students now have time to play outside and run around and be with friends from all different ages.
Yeah.
Twice a day, I think increasing that has really improved the wellness of our school as a whole.
And you, as really the facilitator of the Let Grow program, have you seen an increase in independence, do you think, in the students?
I do think so. I think students are learning that, now they can do things on their own. They don't have to wait for a teacher or a parent to be like, oh, do this now, or let me do that for you. Students are taking more risks and trying things on their own. I think, and at recess, most of the time teachers are just, observing from a distance, and students are really taking ownership of who should I play with now? Oh, I don't like the way that makes me feel. What should I do now? How can I help myself?
Yeah. Resolving their own conflict,
Yes.
which is really important.
Very.
Let me ask you this. What has surprised you the most about the Let Grow initiative as you've been, in every classroom talking to every student about their projects and helping them figure out what to do? Is there anything that stood out and really kind of surprised you?
I think what surprises me a lot of the time is how little some of our students have been doing up until this point.
Yeah.
That has been kind of interesting. It's also surprising to see what students pick to do. Some students really are going for something really big and exciting. And then we have students who are focusing on really small things like making their bed, pouring their own cereal. And I think just it's really interesting to watch the range from the tiny little kindergartners all the way through the 5th grade. And also sometimes it's the same projects being done at all grade levels, which is very fascinating to me.
That is interesting. Kind of makes you wonder if the kids that are the ones that are out there taking the big, or doing a big thing versus a smaller thing, makes you wonder if those kids are already doing all those small things, and that's why they're like leaning towards a bigger thing. I mean, who knows, but it does make you wonder
I don't
that.
know. Sometimes I wonder that. I don't always feel that way. I think just some students are looking for like wow factor.
Oh, okay,
that
makes sense.
Notice that as we've progressed, so we've done 3 Let Grow programs so far. By and large, after the first month, a lot of students have really brought their focus back to something more like routine that they can help with in their home or help somebody else with while still stretching themselves out of their comfort zones.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's been very well appreciated from the parents because it's, giving them a little more time. I mean, I can't imagine having to do all of the things that the parents were doing previously. Now they're probably like, wow, this is great because I can focus on this. I don't have to worry about making lunch every single day, just as an example.
I think it's great for parents.
Yeah.
I think it's great for kids too. And,
yeah.
When we did the last reflection, I spoke with each class and I said, even though we're not doing a December project, take those projects you've done. Still do the laundry and the dishes and play with your little siblings or take your dog for a walk. Keep practicing those things and try new things over winter break as well, heading into the new year.
Okay, that's great advice. Looking forward, what key priorities do you want to focus on in 2025?
Looking forward, I think It's this idea of, helping our students again with the social emotional learning and working with students to help improve executive function.
Yeah.
It's really important that our students, can organize themselves and know figure out the order in which to do things, to regulate themselves when they're having a conflict with a friend, or they can't find their supplies, or they, all these different things. I think that's a really good goal moving into 2025.
I love that goal. Well, I really thank you, Rashi, for all the hard work you're doing for the school. You're going into every single classroom this year, which I think, you took on a lot of extra. And I think it's really paying off. So I thank you for that, and SIA thanks you for that.
Thank you. I do want to just speak to the going into every classroom.
Yeah.
So I'm in every classroom about 3 times a month, and for me that's been the most fun part of this, because I get to see the difference from the younger students all the way up, and also it allows me to really better understand our students and how they each function.
Yeah, and what their needs are.
Yeah, so it's really eye-opening.
Going into the classrooms has always been eye-opening for me, not just because I get to see maybe what the teacher is doing or what the teacher is teaching. It's not really about that typically for me, but it's to see the interaction with the teachers and the students, and what's working well and what isn't working well is also very important information. And you don't really get that unless you spend a little time in the classroom. So I wish I had more time to spend in the classroom. Maybe that's my goal for 2025. Anyway, thank you, Rashi. I really appreciate all that you do for SIA.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Joining us now is Janet Jenkins, Director of Primary Years, and Alicia Paul Cornelius, our IB Coordinator, to share with us their reflections on the first half of the school year for primary years. Welcome, ladies. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, hello.
So, reflecting on the school year so far, can one of you share some initiatives or programs that you are most proud of? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'm really proud of all the work that we've done so far. We are in our reauthorization preparation year as an IB authorized world school. And we've done a lot of work already and will continue to until about this time next year as we prepare for our IB reauthorization. What that looks like so far is all of our teachers from the 3-year-olds on up to the 5th grade teachers, specialty teachers, JS teachers, and administrators are broken into 4 committees.
Okay.
And these committees are meeting to reflect on all the progress that we've made over the last 5 years.
Which is kind of exciting.
It is. It's been a lot of work, and it's really cool to just look at how far we've grown, knowing that we still have, things that we want to change and improve in the future, but just being really proud of what we've done so far.
That's great. Can you share with me what those committees are so our audience knows?
Absolutely. So we have 4 committees, like I said. There's a learning committee that's really looking at our program of inquiry and the 6 themes that our teachers work collaboratively to implement for all of our students from 3 years old on up. We have a culture committee, we have a purpose committee, and we have an environment committee. And those committees work on some of the policies in our school that make us an IB school. They work on student support and some of the other aspects of our school that make this a really, inclusive and positive experience for our students. And then also the purpose, so our kind of administrative, philosophical, look at our school and how the IB works in our setting.
Okay, great. How about you, Miss Jenkins?
Well, I'm really excited about seeing all the things that we've been doing this year following our VAIS accreditation, and as we are working for the reauthorization for IB. A lot of the things that we're doing is really helping our students to develop more agency, like our Let Grow initiative, or even the way that we are allowing them to have a little bit more agency out at recess, along with more recess time. These things have really helped create energy in our students, and they don't need as much brain breaks during the classroom as they have in the past to keep them working and moving.
And motivated and engaged, and also it really, really has developed independence.
Yeah, and the things that they are creating outside, the games that they are creating on their own without any kind of prescribed activity from a teacher, it's really interesting to see some of the the activities that they are choosing to do, working not just with their classmates, but across all grade levels.
Right, multi-age play is so important. When I've gone out to any of our recesses, I love to see the kids and their imagination. I mean, they come up with some things if you just listen to what they're saying to each other. It's exciting, and it makes you just feel happy inside to see them exploring and enjoying themselves and feeling proud of themselves. So, okay, let's go on to the next question. Tell me, what feedback are you hearing, from teachers, from students, from parents about their experiences so far this year? Anybody have anything they want to share there?
Oh gosh, that's like, there are so many wonderful things that are happening in our school every day. It's like so exciting to come into these doors, to see these kids with their smiling faces, just ready to do whatever activity they have going on in class, and talking about it and being so excited about it. I think the fact that our students are engaged more in their learning really has made a huge difference in the way that they perceive coming to school even, and the excitement that you hear, the buzz that you hear from the students and the parents on all of the activities that are happening around our school, and even our kindergartners recognizing all of the great things that we're doing for our community without prompting. One day, hearing one of our kindergartners say, wow, we really do so much for our community. It's just so heartwarming to hear these stories that they're sharing about all of the fun things that the classes are doing.
Yeah, kind of in the same theme of that, our Mitzvah Club has really kind of stepped into their own this year and a little bit more student-driven, and I'm really proud of what they've done so far and some of their ideas for 2025. So stay tuned for Mitzvah Club's upcoming projects. But they really, I think, are really learning that agency piece and figuring out, how to make a difference in their community, which is cool.
Yeah, that's always really important and a good lesson for all of us. I would say one thing I just wanted to share, just entered my mind, is since I guess it's been the last couple of years, when we have major school events, we have kind of turned over some of the welcoming and speech time from me to typically the SGA president or SGA officers. And I have to say how proud I am of our students who just step up, and they have no concern about getting up in front of an audience of adults and sharing, their thoughts and welcoming those adults to whatever that program is that we're about to share. And I really am very proud of them for that. That's just a fabulous thing to see happen. Okay, so how about, what progress have you seen in some of our larger school goals, such as student wellness or academic innovation? Anything there you ladies would like to share?
Yeah, I've been writing up a program development plan, which is part of our IB reauthorization process, like I've already spoken about. And it's been really fun and exciting to write about the Let Grow project. And also really focus on uninterrupted play in the EY program, because both of these initiatives really have student wellness at the heart of them. And it just feels good from my seat to see that good, positive energy going into our school.
Yeah. It's something that our leadership team has actually been talking about for several years. Why are we seeing such an increase in anxiety and depression in elementary age kids? But more importantly than the why, what can we do about it? And that's where Let Grow kind of came in, and it was such an easy program to implement, and we can already see all the positive energy coming out of that program, both from a parent perspective and a student perspective. Kids are so proud of themselves that they can do
that they have built around the things that they want to do themselves. And even seeing a parent who might be a little bit hesitant to allow their child to do something on their own, and then they do, just to see that our children really can do some things that we might think that they're not ready for. And when we listen to our kids and we know our kids, it's so great to be able to give them that responsibility of doing something on their own.
Yeah. I mean, goes right back to agency, and as an IB school, this is integral to what you do and what you're trying to create in an IB school.
I also just to piggyback on that, some of the other things that we're seeing is less conflicts between students. They're able to work through their issues and their problems a little bit better, knowing that they can take care of things on their own.
Yeah.
So seeing those things and knowing that they're confident, they want to do things. That's really a great thing to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward. So what are some key priorities you want to focus on as we head into 2025? Ladies?
That great things come from change. And I think as long as we continue to make changes to our program, as we're reflecting, like for things like this, it's always good to keep moving forward and to keep bringing in new ideas. Those kinds of changes continually help us to grow and be better. And I think that's what we strive for. It's seeing the teachers feel more comfortable every year as we grow as an IB school, and allowing the students to take on more challenges and become the risk takers that we want them to be. It's just awesome to see that coming together, and I can only imagine the new programs and new things that we are going to continue to bring.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, and I think just, entering this kind of reflective process that we're coming into and really taking on that growth mindset that we want our students to have, obviously, but taking that on as a staff as well. I'm very excited for that because I think we're going to get some really good feedback from the IB. It reminds me, what you just said reminds me that we just sent our librarian to an IB conference, and she came back so enthused and so excited about multiple different things that she wants to bring to our school. And I just think that all of this energy is really good for us, and it'll be exciting to see where we grow and change.
Yeah, I mean, as part of the whole IB reauthorization, we're looking at every piece of our program again. We're looking at curriculum. We're looking at a new reading program potentially I think that's for 2025. But so many things come up when you go into a reflective process, and it is very exciting. So great things to come, and I thank you both for all of your hard work that you do for the school. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And now joining us on our Reflections podcast are two of our primary years teachers. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, I'm Meredith Carnaza. I teach 2nd grade.
And I'm Marin Genova. I teach 4th grade.
I'm really happy to have you ladies here with me.
We're happy to be here.
All right, so looking back on the first half of the school year, what has been the most rewarding moment for you and your students? Meredith, you want to go first?
Sure. I have been really working with my kids on understanding that they can do hard things. And so when they first come to you in 2nd grade, they're very often scared to do something that is hard. And recently someone looked at me and said, look, I can do hard things. And it's very rewarding when they realize, without me telling them, that they can do things that are difficult for them.
I love that. And Marin, how about you?
Okay, so 4th grade it's interesting that you have both of us. We were talking about this earlier because 4th grade and 2nd grade are huge transition years in elementary school, where things that have felt the same, where the kids feel like they have a good handle on, change somewhat dramatically. And sometimes that's curriculum, and sometimes it's independence, and a lot of times both. So the biggest shift in 4th grade for curriculum is Virginia studies versus basic like social studies. So I always have a hard time getting kids to have buy-in in social studies in 4th grade because everything else they've learned so far, it's kind of common sense, right? Like, what is a flag? What is a citizen?
True.
A little bit of history that they've maybe seen just from driving around or seeing statues or what have you. So my big moment happened today, and if this hadn't happened, I don't know that I would have an answer. I'm sure I'd have one, but this was a great one, where we were teaching about the reasons for exploration, and we were learning about King Henry VIII protesting against the Pope and coming to explore the New World. And they said, this is so interesting. Can we learn more about this? Can we keep doing this instead of moving on to the next subject? And I said, absolutely. So that made me so happy that they had so many questions. They were like exploding. I had to pass out sticky notes so they could write things down, and they wanted to know more and more. And that felt amazing because the last week or two has been like pulling teeth. Like, yeah, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of new stuff you've never understood before. It's a lot of looking at maps and globes and reading about historical facts. getting names straight that are in different languages, stuff like that. So this was huge and exciting.
That is great. That is obviously they felt very engaged with whatever the lesson was.
King
so.
Henry's a good one. It's a lot of gore and death, you know. He's a real
very entertaining.
very entertaining.
Very entertaining.
So, okay, how about this? What are some specific growth areas or skills that you've seen develop in your students so far this year? Meredith?
Yes, so my kids have become very independent learners. So they will walk into our room, they know where to look, they know good questions to ask. They seek out more work if they have finished or asked to do projects. They really love our IB units this year and are independently asking to do more or how could they add to it. And that is a huge thing for second graders to actually want to do work and
absolutely.
And go above and beyond. So this year they have really grown in being independent. Also, when it comes to classroom management, they have become more independent in knowing what they need in a room to help them, asking to move or having a specific seat or so that has been a huge growth for them, and it's very, very nice to see them.
Agency.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yes.
Agency in their own education. I love it.
Yes, it's very nice.
Maren, how about you in 4th grade?
Mine's a bit of a branch off the same thing, and I would say it's self-advocacy. So not just knowing what they need, they start that great journey with you and with all of our younger teachers, teaching them about all the options they might have, and sometimes that can be overwhelming. So by 4th grade, the big thing that we work on is all those options you now know exist, moving to a different seat, getting a band for your chair, using a binder or using a folder. Now which one actually works for you, and can you ask me for it? But in 4th grade this year, I've noticed them doing such a good job asking people other than me for it.
That's
which
great.
Is amazing. So you have a tendency to have, when we have these incredible women that push into our classroom, Miss Bruns comes in during a language arts block, or Miss Mo, or even just Miss Jenkins happens to be in there observing, going to any of those trusted adults and saying, I'm confused, can you help me with the directions for this? Or, can you help me with the pencil sharpener? I don't know, something really big with academics or something really small with materials, asking for those things, and then also doing such a good job with advocacy and communication from home to school. I'm getting great feedback from the parents really recently about, hey, my kid came home and told me that they need to turn this in, or that they have to bring money to school, and less of, my parents didn't know that was happening, or what have you. So this has been an amazing and impressive improvement in 4th grade this year, is asking for what they need, but not just from me. Knowing there are other people who can help them other than
That's great.
their primary teacher.
That's what we want to see. All right, so how about this, ladies? What new strategies or programs have you implemented in your classroom, and how do you think they have impacted learning? Meredith?
So this summer I became a trainee for Orton Gillingham, and it is a multisensory approach to language arts, and it has helped me as a classroom teacher so much with how I teach word study, writing, reading, vocabulary. I see so much growth in my children just in spelling independently and using techniques that I was taught and then taught them. They like to know that I had a teacher and that I'm using the strategies I was taught this summer. Yes, so it has really changed all of how I do language arts in 2nd grade, and I already loved language arts and now I love it even more. So,
Lifelong learning, right, Meredith?
Yes, definitely. They love to know I have a teacher. That's like their favorite thing.
I love it too. How about you,
ask you
Meredith?
what your grades are?
Yeah. They were like, are you doing good? I'm like, yes, I'm doing good.
I remember students asking me that when I was doing my gifted endorsement.
Yeah.
They would want to know, how'd you do on your test?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I have one student that I work with in the afternoon. He's also like, so what did your teacher say last night?
So cute.
Yeah.
So it's funny that mine's also language arts, or not funny because I also love language arts. So I made some changes this year based off of how the 5th grade language arts curriculum was going. Because Ms. Bruns came to us from teaching middle school math, I kind of showed her or mentored her a lot on how I did language arts when she was my long-term sub. And then she took a lot of those same strategies and activities and used them with 5th grade. But I remember when I used to teach the combined 4th and 5th grade language arts that by about mid-year 5th grade, they kind of got tired of doing the same stuff they'd already done with me in 4th grade.
Right.
So I have changed up a fair bit of how I do things like word study, things that are repetitive throughout 4th and 5th grade, and grammar, so that by the time they get to her in 5th grade, it's fresher for them. And so I've turned some word study, which I used to think of as very individual, like you must memorize and interact with these words, into something that's a lot more group and partner based.
Okay.
And also because I was so curious about what Meredith was doing over the summer, and she was teaching me and telling me things, and then I was following people on Instagram who are Orton people, and I'm a huge word nerd.
Yes,
right?
word nerd.
So I was doing that. I was starting to incorporate that more with my students. So when they're hunting for words that match their sort, they're actually cutting words out of newspapers or magazines, and doing that with the group so they can discuss it, so that when they go to 5th grade and do it independently, it's just a challenging extension of something they've already practiced a lot with me, but it wasn't as intense. It's more of an introduction.
That's great. I love that. And that's like scaffolding.
Yes.
That's great that you guys are working so closely together.
Yeah. It's felt kind of like a relief, I think, to me too, to feel like, oh, they're going to do the same thing more intensely next year, so I can take it more slowly this year and really introduce it so they have a good handle on it, instead of feeling panicked to get through, quote unquote, all of the skills that I think they should have.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit and tell me, what challenges have you faced and how did you work to overcome those challenges? Meredith?
So I think the biggest challenge this year as a teacher was getting used to our change of schedule. So we have 2 recesses and lunch that are separate periods. It felt like we had less time in the classroom, which is actually inaccurate. We have more time in the classroom, but there was more transition. So figuring out how to transition well was very challenging at the beginning of the year. I used to do a lot of brain breaks in my classroom. I have found I do so many less with my children. The recess, like at the beginning of the year, I wanted to be like, this is terrible, we're not doing it. But it's so good for the kids. They're excited. They like going out in their boots. And so I think it's also helped the kids become more independent in class, because we set up what we're doing after our transition before we're doing something. So we have a lot of talking and planning about our day. So although we're transitioning more, we know what's coming, so that we don't have to talk about it as much. It's just we make a plan for our day and we go about it. So it's helped them be more independent. They're definitely benefiting from being outside, having recess separate than lunch. So it was challenging, but I think it was a good challenge.
So some of what you're saying about planning the day is probably also helping them with executive functioning.
100%.
So that's also a plus.
Yes, because we start the day and we go through what we need to do. We actually talk about how many periods they have me and what we're going to fit in. Then we kind of talk about, we rush sometimes after this recess, so should we do this first or last? And they talk it out all with me, and I don't know that I was doing that as much before this year.
Right, and again, I would say agency, because now they're feeling like they're kind of helping and making the decision of what you're going to do and when.
Yes,
which is great.
Yes, it's very good. Yeah. It is a very good change, but it was challenging.
I'm sure. Sure. How about you, Maren?
Well, I was going to say something about recess, but you really covered it all, so I'll talk about IB units instead. IB changed some of the definitions of the units that we do. So how the world works, and for me anyway, for the how the world works unit of inquiry and sharing the planet unit of inquiry, those ones I had to, or got to really, meet with Alicia and really overhaul those units to make sure that they met the new criteria and specifications, which at first felt really overwhelming because, I mean, these units are like no small task.
Right.
They are a work of art, and truly at 6 years in, I only just now feel pretty confident that I had the unit the way that I hoped it was.
They're kind of close to your heart.
I know. and especially when you work on them, there's other people involved too.
Right.
So I'm working on them with Ms. Zach, with Ms. Blocker, with Ms. Newman, and so then informing them or getting their feedback on changes. It's quite a process. So Alicia, though, because she's the most patient human in the world and has the most calm tone of voice in the world, really came at it with no sense of urgency and worked slowly and confidently with me to change the units, but keep the core of what I needed to teach through those units.
Okay.
So we actually found ways to take the unit and rework it under the specifications of a different title.
Okay.
So my unit that was previously about exploration was previously a different unit of inquiry, but now it's how the world works unit of inquiry. And so we're just leaning more heavily on different aspects of exploration than I have before. So that was really helpful. And then also, though, because I wrote that unit 6 years ago when we were just beginning our IB journey and before I was even trained in IB, and before our students had really a concept of what they were doing with it, it was really nice to overhaul.
Right, because now you have a lot more knowledge. And
the students have a lot more background knowledge coming into it of what's going to be asked of them or what they're capable of. So it was very challenging and overwhelming, but coming out of it, I felt really, really good about those units.
That's good. So, IB is always growing and developing just like we are, so they're going to change things over time. And I do think there's some other big changes coming out very soon.
January.
Yeah, so we'll face some other things with that. But
yeah, and the thing that felt nice about it, I guess, a little bit differently than having taught in public schools where it's just like, oh, 4th grade no longer teaches planets. Here you go. Here's, geography instead. This was the core standards. The information I'm teaching was the same, but so I still had, speaking of agency, Alicia and I and Ms. Zach had agency in saying, okay, how do we take the big ideas that we want the students to learn about how the world is the way it is now based off of patterns of colonization and power throughout history? How do we look at that concept and make it fit with another unit? So it wasn't like it was just being stripped away and we were being given something else. There was still us having our own stamp on it.
Right. And again, that's another thing that I happen to love about IB.
Yeah.
They do not dictate content to you. Your content is your choice.
Yeah.
Your curriculum is your choice. It's the way. It's the methodology. So that's another thing I love about them.
that.
Yeah.
All right, so last question. As you look ahead to the rest of the year and to 2025, what goals or hopes do you have for your classroom or for your students? Meredith?
I think just going back to the first question and them continuing to grow and know that they're strong, independent learners who can do hard things and wanting to go above and beyond and develop more executive functioning skills and be really good writers. I want them to be really good writers. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask you guys to come back, I think, at the end of the year to reflect on the second half, especially because I want to hear about the really good writers and the book that I'm assuming they're going to publish this year.
They are going to publish a book.
So we'll have to hear how that goes.
Yes.
How about you, Maren?
So mine actually is very similar. I am starting to work with the 4th graders really strongly on teaching growth mindset like it is a subject that we cover every day.
That's
Not
great.
something we just randomly talk about when they're having a hard time, but that it is being taught preemptively instead of reactively. 4th grade, I think I said this earlier, is a pain point. And what happens, especially about this year, and we're about to do fractions, which is, I think, probably the biggest pain point of 4th grade, everything feels really different. Students who have always a little bit struggled in school and have always had to work a little bit hard or ask for help tend to do really well in 4th grade because they're already used to asking for help.
Right.
Or knowing they need to practice a little bit at home or talk to their parents, or the parents are going to talk to the teachers in a positive way, like we're a team, we're working together,
Right.
and we're going to do a little extra practice. Or you're going to get pulled into the small group so we can go over this one-on-one or two-on-one. Students for whom school has been really easy and have kind of flown by on background knowledge, on being early readers or early writers, or just enjoying counting, that kind of stuff.
Good
Fourth-
number sense.
Yeah, good number sense. Fourth grade gets really hard because it's no longer a skill to be able to do math in your head. You cannot do math in your head when you are doing converting fractions and finding common denominators, or even when right now we're doing multiplication of 3-digit times 2-digit numbers. It's not an impressive skill anymore to lose track of those numbers all in your head.
Right.
So that actually is really difficult for those students for whom kind of their identity as like, I'm really good at school and because school's easy for me.
Right.
And so the change at this point in the year needs to be, I am good at school because I keep trying even when school isn't easy for me. And so
Great lesson.
we're coming back. Ms. Zach and I have worked together on this, on some very, very specific plans for the January, coming into setting goals and writing reflections and building each other up with growth mindset phrases.
That's really important. I mean, everything should not always be easy. It shouldn't. So, and that is normal.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to remind students of that and parents of that, you know?
Yeah.
So kids are always going to get to a point where something is difficult and they have to work for it. And that's really a good thing. You want that to happen.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, ladies, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. But I also want to thank you for all the hard work that you guys do for SIA. You are amazing teachers, and we are very fortunate to have you. So thank you.
We feel lucky to be here.
Yes, 100%.
Thank you. Joining us now on our Reflections podcast are two of our amazing SIA students, Ari Mulligan and Emma Bellman, who is also our SGA president. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having us here.
I'm so happy to have both of you with me today. So for our first question, Ari, we'll start with you. What's been the highlight for the first half of the school year from your perspective?
I think in science we learned about the human body systems and got to each work on one body system. Mine was the endocrine system, which controls the emotions.
I love that. That's fabulous. Emma, how about you?
I've loved this half of the school year helping the SGA, and I'm excited to do more. We've had a pajama day, and we've had another one, and I'm excited to do more.
So you've had 2 pajama days. Today you're selling cocoa, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous. That's really great. I'm so proud of you guys. All right, well, so tell me, what's something new you've learned or something you accomplished that you're really proud of? Ari?
Well, right now we're currently learning how to do 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication, which,
Wow.
I didn't realize it was so easy to do.
Oh, so it's easy. Good. I'm so glad.
I mean, simple.
All right, well, you should feel very proud of that. It's not always simple. Emma?
We learned the traditional way of multiplication, and it's really fun and easy too. And we've learned a lot of other fun things in math that I'm happy that we've learned, and I'm excited to learn more.
Okay. So I should have probably said in the beginning, Ari, you're in what grade?
4th.
And Emma?
5th.
It's your last year with us. I can't believe that. It's just gone by too fast. So tell me, how have your teachers or your classmates supported you to overcome a challenge or to try something new?
In Judaic Studies, we have a vocabulary test every Friday, and I can't remember words just by looking at them. So Miss Zach showed us that there's a Quizlet that has flashcards, and that's really helped me.
Oh, great. That's good.
My classmates are kind of like siblings, so we all kind of help each other, and we're always there for each other, and if we have questions, we could always answer it for each other, and that's very helpful.
So good. You guys support each other in the classroom. I love that. Okay, so what changes or additions at SIA at school this year have made the biggest impact on your experience? Ari?
I think to let go, because I now know how to buy stuff by myself and do the dishes.
That's great. And does that make you feel good?
It makes me feel more helpful, I guess.
I like that. And more independent, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Emma, how about you?
I think the Great Recess schedule is awesome because we have 2 times in the day now to get our energy out, plus sometimes PE, and it's very fun.
Okay. Do you like also that everybody's out there at the same time together?
Yes.
Do you find that you play with only the kids in your grade, or do you play with some of the other kids too?
I play with all the kids.
Okay, that's good. Do you like playing with some of the younger kids and helping them?
Yes.
Okay. I figured you do because you're always helping kids in the school, so I do see that. All right, so last question. As we move into 2025, what are you guys most excited about, and what goals do you have for the rest of the year? Ari?
I'm most excited about the 2025 Drama Club play.
Ooh, me too. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm very excited. How about you, Emma?
I'm very excited to end off my Strelitz journey strong, and I'm excited to have more adventures in the SGA.
That's good. So yeah, you're graduating at the end of the school year. Excited about having graduation?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really fun and exciting for you and all of your classmates. All right. Well, I thank you guys so much for joining me on my podcast. You've given lots of great information for our listeners, and maybe we'll have you back towards the end of the school year so that you could reflect on the second half of the year. What do you guys think about that?
Good. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Joining us now on our Reflections podcast is Karen Simon, our Director of Advancement. Welcome, Karen. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Heather. So happy to be here today.
So, tell me, what successes have you seen in community building and fundraising initiatives so far this year?
Well, first of all, I want to just say that community building, engagement, and fundraising go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So we've seen some great successes, starting with our annual golf tournament, which it's this past August was our 36th year. And really the tournament was grown by the parents and board members, and it just has become a community staple event. We raised close to $150,000 in sponsorships. We have over 80 sponsors, and this year we had about 100 players that participated. And it's a wonderful event. We have the Tidewater community comes out, local businesses, corporate partner, sponsors, and just many long-term supporters. So that was one wonderful community building and fundraising event. We had our second annual Fall Festival, which has also become a fantastic tradition. We started last year. We have both years around 700 people that
Just
come
amazing.
out. It really is. And it was a new initiative that families were very excited to support, and we have families and businesses that just love to sponsor this fantastic event. And then we also have our parent campaign coming up, which this past year, last January, we launched a new initiative to encourage our parents to give to our annual campaign. And we launched a glow run to get everybody excited.
Kids loved it.
Yes, they did. Inspire the families to give. And also it was great because not only do they have the opportunity to give, but they get to share their excitement for their school and really expand their impact. And the kids were so excited about fundraising.
They really were. I remember last year it really became quite competitive amongst the families. So hopefully we will see that again this year. It was just exciting. And the actual day of the glow run was really fun. The kids really enjoyed that day. So that also makes it, makes you feel good to see them happy.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So tell me from your perspective, what role does storytelling play in connecting parents, alums, supporters, and connecting them to the school's vision?
So storytelling is very important. It's an essential part of the engagement and the fundraising. Our community really cares about our school, and everyone wants to be part of our success. So when we can show that our successes through storytelling, through social media, and our school magazine that everybody loves, and even these podcasts. It's a wonderful way, to keep alumni engaged and supporters engaged in everything we're doing. Also, our school's evolved. So, we've changed, but our mission's the same in that, we have the mission to educate our students, engage them in Jewish culture, and of course, social action. So it's important for storytelling to convey that, our storytelling to show all of these things that we do, every day at our school. And storytelling also really helps us to connect to our grandparents as well. I love talking with grandparents of our students, and they see firsthand, they can, sit back and enjoy, seeing their grandchildren experience just a love of learning. and especially on Grandparents' Day. That's why we have Grandparents' Day in November. And a lot of grandparents, because the next generation is just so different with all the technological advances, some of the, the older generation, sometimes they have a harder time connecting to the younger generation, but through all of the wonderful things that our students do at our school, they learn and they're able to connect the grandchildren with the children, and our kids, for many of our children, they come home and they want to celebrate Shabbat together and light candles on Hanukkah. They're even running their Passover Seders, and they know the importance of being part of a community. So, it's really, I love the storytelling aspect, because I also love to hear the storytelling from the grandparents.
I do
as well.
too. They have some good stories. So, yeah, and it's always very interesting to hear from the grandparents. I love Grandparents' Day, one of my favorite days at school.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, I love hearing the stories when I talk to alumni and hearing about their memories of the school. And my own kids will tell me too, some of the things they remember, just random things that just, they hold on to and they love it. And so when I talk to alumni, I love hearing that, and I love inviting them back to the school. Alumni and also their parents too, and talking about the memories of the school, the traditions that are still going on. So it's very special. To everybody.
It's all about staying connected, I think, And so, yes, hearing what alums remember about the school is fun. Was it last year we had them here for, we had some seniors, kids who were graduating from high school. Senior send-off, thank you. I couldn't remember the name. And they were so excited when they came in and they were like, Mrs. Moore, can we go find our ceiling tiles? And I was just like, that's so cool that they want to see them, They were actually excited to go back and find theirs and talk about it and remember when they painted them and all those cool things. So anyway, yes, storytelling is all about connecting, there's no doubt. So tell me, are there any standout moments or events from this fall that kind of exceeded your expectations?
Well, not from the fall, but the spring. We have from the fall, but I was just going to say the senior send-off was something that definitely was the first time we had that event, and definitely will be an annual event. But we had students graduating from high school, or Strelitz alum that were graduating high school, come back with their parents, to reconnect with each other, and also our teachers, and see the school. And so it was so cute to see these 18-year-olds running around the school and just reliving their time at the school. So great. And then as far as the fall, definitely our fall festival just keeps getting, bigger and better. And I keep trying to think of ways, each year we can, even make it bigger than the year before.
Right. And we've had a lot of positive feedback about the Fall Festival. People love coming out to the Fall Festival, and I'm so glad. It's just such a great family day.
It is. It's such a great family day, good for our families to connect, nice for our middle school and high school alum to come back and volunteer.
Yes.
And give their time and see their teacher, and the teachers come out, and so they have a good time, connecting with the families, and we have alum parents too that help out with the grill.
Yes, they do.
Different aspects of the festival. It's really, really fun.
Very appreciated too that they come out and help the school, even though their kids have moved on. How has the school community stepped up to support growth projects or new initiatives this year?
Well, one of the things I love about our school in general is just how we're not afraid of change, and we're always looking to the future, planning for the future, and thinking about how we can evolve. This year, I loved how our board retreat you had organized for our futuristic thinking focus, and just getting us thinking about the future, and that sometimes we have to be a little imaginative in how we think about the future. It's not always how we imagine it's going to be, but we have to be flexible, and understand that, open to change. We don't know what the future holds, and we want to be prepared when the future arrives,
whenever that is.
So this year for 2025, we're coming up on our school's 70th anniversary.
Amazing. Something to be very proud of.
It really is so amazing. And, the school, we've weathered a few storms over the last 70 years, but we've come out stronger and we've evolved. And it's just so amazing over the 15 years I've been at the school. It's just been amazing to see the evolution. So we are going to be launching a campaign thinking about our endowment and the future so that we can be prepared.
Love it. And we're launching that campaign in the next year, I believe, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we're in the planning stages right now and talking about getting our community together, and so we'll be getting some marketing materials together and reaching out to people as we plan it.
Okay. So if any of our listeners out there are interested in getting involved in the endowment campaign, please do not hesitate to reach out to Karen Simon. She'd be happy to talk with you about it.
Absolutely.
So what can we look forward to in terms of upcoming events, campaigns, or opportunities to get involved in 2025?
So great. There's so many ways to get involved. So first of all, some of the things we're excited about, as I mentioned in January, we're having our parent campaign and student glow run. So our families will be fundraising for the school. So please, if you're able to make a gift to our annual campaign, it's very, very important to our school, and we rely on that, fundraising to meet our budget, because tuition alone doesn't cover all our expenses. So
Exactly.
we really rely on our wonderful donors. Also, we are, as I mentioned, going to be rolling out our endowment campaign, important for planning the future. And also for those people that would also be interested in life and legacy, because that's also a wonderful way, if you don't have the funds now to be able to fund our endowment campaign, life and legacy is an after-lifetime gift. So that's something that people can plan for in the future, but still a great way to show your commitment to the school.
Love that.
And then there are other opportunities to volunteer and get involved. We're getting our golf tournament committee organized already. Our golf tournament is planned for Wednesday, September 10th this year, but we're starting to think about planning and sponsorships, and it's just a really fun day and fun way to connect with other people in the community. And then, of course, Fall Festival. If you're interested in getting involved in our Fall Festival committee, it's another way to get involved. Another thing that I'm starting to think about, we had such success with our senior send-off, and I know, we haven't had a lot of alumni events. And I'm starting to think about, I would love to do something with our young adult alumni, like 20s, 30-year-olds. Many I know have, moved back to the community. We have many that are parents at the school. So if you're thinking about, if you're in that demographic and would love to, get involved in that capacity, I would love to start brainstorming some ways to engage those alum.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So there's a lot of opportunities. Anybody out there interested in getting involved, please do not hesitate to reach out. So Karen, I thank you so much for all the hard work you do for SIA, and I'm really looking forward to everything that's coming in 2025.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Heather.
Thank you so much to all of our guests who joined us on our Reflections podcast, and thank you to all of our listeners for joining us. I hope that you will give us feedback, and if you found value in today's episode, I hope that you will subscribe, share, and follow us. Also, please visit our website at www.strelitzinternationalacademy.org for more information about this episode, as well as tips and resources. And please remember, it takes a whole community to build a strong foundation for our children to grow and develop. On behalf of SIA, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your partnership.